Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. And I got a special guest, and it's such a big honor to have him here today. And it's such a inspiring moment, especially if you're heartbroken and you're scooping the ice cream and you're eating it away. I'm hoping to bring Simon here. I know he's kind of known for the money guy, but he's also known for the love guy. So he's all about the Venus part. So I'm hoping he inspire you with great wisdom when it comes to relationship. If you're struggling with a relationship or you're trying to find a good business partner, we're going to talk about So Simon, welcome and to my channel.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Great to be here.
So Simon, I want you to talk about some of the stuff that you're kind of working in the back. You've been researching for a while. I know that you have deep knowledge in this area when it comes to core connections and stuff that you've been just researching about.
Yeah, well, there are two things that clients come to us for primarily that take up most of the reading. And the first is love, and the second is money. And we're really honest with ourselves and think about it, those are the two things we spend the most time obsessing over. From, how do I look? How does my hair look? I want to go out, if you're single, to going out to a club, to or somewhere, or having your friends introduce you to someone. So much of our time, I mean, so much of our time and energy and attention is spent on finding that perfect someone. And unfortunately, we have to go, there's a lot of trial and error. We have to go, find someone, oh, they're close, but it didn't work out. Or, gosh, this person isn't even close, but I'm kind of fascinated. Let's see what happens. And so many dead ends, so many little roads. And we reach a point where we're, okay, now I'm 25, now I'm 35, now I'm 45. Maybe you're 65 and you still haven't found love in your life. And maybe the rest of your life is going great, but that still occupies a part of the human psychology for most people. I'm not saying not for all people, but for most people. So when I stopped doing readings formally for people, I turned my attention to helping people solve those two issues: the issue of financial security, because obviously that's the other area where we spend most of our time and energy: getting dressed, going to work, worrying about our portfolio, this, that. That's also a huge time crunch. So I've spent a lot of my time helping people try to figure the money part out through my cryptocurrency class. And now I'm focusing more and more of my attention towards helping people find love, helping people find fulfillment through a life partner. And even if people aren't ready for a life partner, they just want to go out and have good sex. Now, look, we live in the Western world. We can talk about this. We're not in, it's not, 300 years ago, we're not in, some cultures it's taboo. But let's be honest, Tinder, Bumble, and all these apps, they exist because sometimes people just want to have friends with benefits. Even there is a way using astrology to know if the person you're going to be with is going to give you an STD, for example, or if it's not going to be worth your time, or if it's going to be mind-blowing and it could potentially turn into even a relationship. So we can see, we have ways of judging if you're going to be compatible with the person on the physical level, on the emotional level, on the friendship level. Some people get along better with your parents than they do with you, and they're like friends, but there's no chemistry. And then there's the other way around. So with astrology, we can even help people who aren't necessarily they're not ready to get married yet. They want to live a little bit, have fun. But we can even help them to find, the best person to have fun with. So I am actually starting a compatibility class for astrologers, for people who want to learn the method that I'm using. But for people who aren't astrologers and just want to benefit from the method, there are a couple of apps. We have an app out there on Cosmic Insights that they can download, and we're going to train other astrologers so they can consult with people who can help guide them. So those are my two main that's my main focus, is helping people find love, or as when my clients put it, you're helping people get laid and get paid.
I like that.
Okay.
That's from Dr. Pat Allen, right?
I don't know who that's from, but
Oh
that's,
yeah, she always says like you want to get laid or paid, so figure out what you want first.
well, you can do both.
And
My
right.
thing is they're not mutually exclusive. In fact, they're both second chakra issues, right? So you have to, well, you could say it's first and second chakra. Getting paid means having security. So the lights are on, the bills are paid. Nobody's going to foreclose on your house tomorrow, right? So that's first chakra. And now that that's taken care of, I want to fulfill my need to procreate, my need to find a mate, to be with someone.
Yeah, what I really like one of your method is because you're saying in one of your videos, I'll definitely link it in here as well, that you particularly said that, because the Kuta is very biased and it favors more towards the woman than the man. So you were talking about the wet blanket concept about if Saturn is going to sit in your ascendant, it's going to create a blanket. So he might not feel so good. But the Kuta is always favoring the woman in that case. So they were always saying, like, oh, the man and the woman has to be either the man's got to be chasing the woman. And if it's the other way around, it becomes a problem.
Well, the Kutas are, they're a method, an ancient Vedic method for matching people for a long-term relationship. And one of the kutas measures your sexual compatibility. One of them measures your ability to have children. One of them measures the social impact of your relationship on the world. One of them measures your health, how your health is going to be together. So obviously all of them are important, and they work, they're good, but the way they are used a few thousand years ago is a little bit limited, because back then not everybody had a correct birth time. So they're based on the moon. Now that's fine, the moon is the most important factor, but the kutas should also be factored from the ascendant. And people who know their birth time have an ascendant. So now you're going to have two sets of kutas. But guess what? You can also measure them from each person's Venus. So now you have three sets of measurements. And this is so it's more complex than just, going on to a website. Anybody can go. There are free sites. You can go and get your kutas matched with someone, but that's only based on the moon. And yes, it's the most important, but the ascendant is the second most important. And then from Venus, from Mars, from Jupiter.
Right. And I just want to clarify, everybody who's listening and never heard of the moon concept. Moon is representing our emotion, and that's how we make our decision and how we feel things. And Venus is what our five language of love, that could be an example. And our ascendant is how we show up in this world and our path as well. So that's really important. So that's a really good point that you made, Simon, when it comes to that. I know that you kind of mentioned about like the handicap. So coming in this world, we might not have those skills. And people do come to me and they, Sindy, I don't have the skill how to be in a romantic relationship. I don't know how to communicate these things, right? So anyway, Simon, do you want to talk about that, about the handicap?
That's one of the precious things about knowing astrologies, is even before we get into compatibility, before we go, okay, you're a good match with this person, what are your issues? Like, what is the baggage you're taking in? And I speak from experience, having carried lots of baggage into relationships. Like, if you have a debilitated Mars, what does that mean? Well, you take things too personally and you tend to, project aggression on others. Okay. Or you have a combust Venus. What does that mean? Okay, well, you have certain standards of beauty that you want the partner to have that may never be met. And there may be you're very creative, you have a good eye, but you're blind to some pretty obvious issues in the partner. So we all have baggage, right? If you have Sun Saturn combo, you have low self-esteem. You tend to, this is the type of person who will work very hard and be loyal, but they tend to have lower self-esteem, so they may not make the first move, and they may miss out on opportunities. There are so many. There are literally dozens, probably hundreds of combos that show us, okay, where are this person's issues and where are their strengths, and how to, go towards your strengths and kind of minimize the baggage that you bring into the relationship, because that truly is, one of the most important things. I'll give you an example. If you have your Mars and Venus in your chart are 212 to each other, meaning they're not in any kind of mutual aspect, or even 6-8 to each other, then what happens is Mars is your physical desire, Venus is your romantic desire. And you will tend to attract people who either meet one of those, but not both of those. So you'll meet someone with whom you're very physically good, but the romance isn't there, or very romantic, but you're just not physically fulfilled. And so if you have that combo in your main chart or in the D9, worse is if it's both, then it becomes a real issue. If it's just in one of them, we can talk about it, we can work it out with you. You start to become aware of it. But if it's in both, now you need more than awareness. You need to take action on it. So looking at the horoscope can help us determine what your personal baggage is before we even start to match you. And there are some people, I remember that Barbara Bush is the one whose chart still stands out in my mind. She has such a chart where anybody that she married would have become a CEO, would have become, the leader in their field, would have become healthy, strong, competent, because she has a chart where it's reverse personal baggage. Like she just has the gift of making relationships work, whoever she was with. So George Bush Sr. was very lucky to have her because she made him. She made him the man he is. So people can have reverse baggage. They can have such good baggage that they're highly desirable partners. And this is part of the reason why in India, they look at two people's horoscopes before they even introduce them to each other. Unfortunately, a lot of them have lost the gift of knowing, which person has the good baggage. Most of them they look at the kutas, like you said, and they go, oh, kutas are okay. Okay, it's fine, no problem. And you're like, dude, just scratch the surface. There's so much more here. So unfortunately, many of the pundits in India have lost this ability to see who has good baggage and bad baggage, but that isn't an important part of it.
Yeah, I do want to touch base on the negative side of any charts in general. And sometime I have seen charts as well, how you were saying like, oh, they could, when you get married, they will bring money towards you. And sometimes it has a reversal and including health as well. I have seen that as well. So, we are, as a human being, our yonis are kind of going wild, and people love that in the Western culture. It's like, oh, our yoni is needing action. We need to get on Bumble. We need to get on these dating apps. But when you do consummate the relationship, that's being activated. And I have noticed that in my clients as well, if they're having health problem, the partner's having health problem, it gets on top of you. So it's called overlaying. Do you want to talk about a little bit about overlaying?
Well, yeah. You typically, women tend to do it more than men. They tend to process a man's energy. Just that's the physical dynamics of it. But it happens the other way as well. If a woman is toxic, the man will get that. And by the way, when I say a person is toxic, it doesn't mean they're universally toxic. Sometimes you can just be toxic to each other, but really good with someone else. Like sometimes people get together and all their poison comes out because they're just not well matched. They shouldn't be together. But if they were with someone else, all the sweetness comes out. So you can't say, now there are some people, but there's a very few who are like Barbara Bush that I mentioned. Whoever she was with, she would have made them great. It almost didn't matter because that's the kind of chart she had. And there are people the opposite. Whoever they're with, they're going to bring them down just because they're they're just messed up. Again, it doesn't mean we can't work with them to help them get better, but the chart is so messed up that, they're starting from a great deficit or a great surplus, depending. But those are the exceptions. Most of the rest of us are kind of somewhere in the middle. And for us, again, knowing who to be with can minimize the toxicity you experience in that relationship. But absolutely, people overlay, they absorb another person's energy. And you could say that's karma. Okay, she's helping me process my stuff, so that's why I feel sick when I'm around her. But the question is, do you want to live with that the rest of your life?
That's totally true. And, karma is not always a bad thing. It means there's a lesson that we need to learn. And sometimes they pull out those lessons and those wounds as well, we could talk about. And those wounds needs to be upfront, and you want to do it in a gentle way, as obviously in a relationship. But sometimes those things got to come out, and it's just a form of purging. Do you kind of agree with that, Simon?
Yes, yes. And relationships are the catalyst for all of that. And everybody, people say, okay, what does it mean to have a soulmate? I believe that everybody who comes into your life is a kind of soulmate, even the bad relationships, because if they weren't, you wouldn't have got into that relationship. So there's obviously something you need there, something it needs to teach you. And I mean, I'm thinking back to myself 20, 30, years ago, is in my teens and 20s, just being in relationships that I see now what they were trying to teach me, but such a hard lesson. So yes, those people were my soulmate at the time.
Yeah.
Until you're ready for more and something more.
And you grow over time, because the relationship you had in your 20s and your 30s and 40 are totally different. And when you were talking about the app, there's something you call it the hidden strength and weakness, and that's called the sweet vibe, the harsh
Mhm.
lesson, and the compulsive connection. Can you kind of elaborate what that kind of means?
Yes, there's so many ways that people can come together. So one of the ways is if my Jupiter is directly influencing your moon or your ascendant or your Venus, and that gives us sweet vibes. You feel good being around me. Something just being around me makes you feel supported. If it's your ascendant, it's your personality. Like somehow I benefit you, like I motivate you to go out and exercise or be better. If my Jupiter aspects your Venus, you feel beautiful around me. You just feel that I appreciate you. If my Jupiter aspects your Sun, you feel better self-esteem around me, and so forth, and vice versa. So those are the sweet vibes. And the closer that connection is. So if my Jupiter is 19 degrees and it's aspecting your moon, and your moon's 18 degrees, let's say, that's a very tight, powerful connection. You're going to feel that more than if my Jupiter is 19, but your moon is 1 degree. You're still going to feel it. You're going to feel like, yeah, he's pretty nice. I feel nice around him, but it won't have that same intensity. Like, oh yeah, I got to talk to Simon. Every time I talk to him, I feel good. I just feel better. That's a tight connection. And so we can judge even the intensity of the good vibes based on the degree.
I will definitely link all that information about the app that we are mentioning about. Go ahead if you have any more to add on to it.
Yeah, I mean, and there's so much to consider that we programmed a lot of it into the app, the Cosmic Insights app, which is at cosmicinsights.net. I think you can download it. It's on your phone, and then anybody you're with, you can punch in their info, and it'll give you the breakdown on what's happening with you guys. By the way, there is a promo code Simon, SIMON, which gives you 20% off the app.
Do you want to talk about the timing score? Because that was really interesting about like when is a good time to find love, and are you guys are running on the same period that
Yeah.
has that longevity?
Well, that's one of the secrets that Vedic astrology gives, is that I've seen two people who, despite having everything else kind of not really well lined up, they're running the same period in life. Like she's running Saturn Mercury, he's running Saturn Mercury, and it's like, whoa, these people are completely aligned in a very different way. It's like, think about it this way. You're two people who otherwise would probably never would have met. Like, here you are, Sindy, and here's some other person, and you get stuck on a deserted island. Now you're forced to interact with each other, and probably over time you're going to be together, just because, unless you're extremely bad horoscopes, but more than likely, because you're there stuck on that island for the rest of your life, you're gonna interact. And that's how it is when people run the same period. It's like they're on the exact same island together. And that's one of the deal makers in Vedic astrology. When you see that, you go, wow, you guys are very well aligned, all other factors being equal. So that's very important. And tropical traditional Western astrology doesn't have this concept of the planetary periods, as I'm defining them, called Dasha Bhukti. And that's one thing Vedic astrology gives us. Western has other really useful techniques, like the part of fortune, although that's used in Vedic also. And with a part of fortune, you can see, are you going to make money with this person? If your part of fortune is on my ascendant, we're going to do very well together. Or my moon is on your part of fortune, or something like that, those kinds of
Right.
connections.
And you can do this with your family members. So it's not only about relationship, you can do this with potential business partner. And I think as the app revolved, and it's going to add on to it, and you're going to do things like the yoni points and how much is that going to affect both parties.
Right. Well, that's something I call sizzle, and it includes it's chemistry, right? It's sexual chemistry, and it includes the yonis, but there's so much more to it. What if my Pluto is on your Venus? Wow, that's powerful connection. What if our Neptune and Venuses are trine or opposed? That creates tremendous romantic fantasy. So there's a lot to it. But yes, that is going to be programmed at some point, and we'll announce when that app comes out, and it'll give you the real sexual chemistry between two people.
And that's what, in case people are dating and want to have fun, and that's okay if you're wanting to have fun, but you have to be really upfront about that, especially if you have a high sex drive, and that's great, and you want to explore, that's good. Do you want to talk about the North Node and South Node when it comes to overlaying and maybe planets, and what have you noticed, the goods and bads about having maybe somebody North Node on top of a woman's sun or something like that, or even like K2 having Mars there, or even their sun there as a man? What have you noticed?
Yeah, those combos we can talk for hours about those combos. So let's start with a basic. Whenever the nodes are over the luminaries, the sun or the moon, that's when an eclipse is happening. So the nodes become very strong because they are shutting out the lights, you could say. They're turning off even the sun. So the nodes are powerful. But when the nodes are with the other planets, they create a sense of exotic. So if you have Rahu Venus, you may be searching for or have a taste for a partner who's from a different race. And I've seen that in a lot of clients. Or you may have different tastes in sexuality, like, just different things get you, stimulate you. It's not dinner and a movie. You need to go to a symphony hall, or you need to climb the top of Mount Everest, to have that experience of beauty. K2, so that's Rahu. So Rahu gives that element of exoticness. K2 conjunct a person's planets gives an element of dissociation. So, like, for example, a person who has K2 Mars may feel dissociated from the physical plane. So K2 Mars, we call the yoga teacher combination, because then physicality has to be turned into spirituality. So Tai Chi, yoga, sometimes martial arts. But this type of person may have a harder time finding physical satisfaction in life. So they would turn sexuality into, um, a spiritual event, or they may abstain from sex, or so K2 gives dissociation. K2 Venus means you either tend to attract drug addicts as partners, or very spiritual people, or people somehow disassociated with standard romantic tropes, again, like the dinner and the movie. K2 Venus person needs to feel transcendental love in some way. So the nodes really, it's like whatever planet they touch, it's like that planet is on LSD. So Venus on drugs, right? Or Mars on drugs. What would happen? Sometimes it's unpredictable.
It's totally true. And does it ever give you lasting relationship, or it's just a lesson? Because North nodes tends to be our where we want to go, and K2 is like time to let go.
Yeah, well, and now we have to define what we mean. What if, like, if I have K2, let's say K2 Venus in my chart natally, that then I have this lifelong baggage or tendency of wanting the perfect spiritual partner, which I'm probably never going to get. So I have to learn how to ground. But if my K2 sits on your Venus, so we're talking now compatibility, then yes, I will be the agent for your exotic expression of your sensuality. So I will somehow trigger you to want to fly to Italy and, go on a date with me. Or it's like, and you've been a normal person all your life, but my K2 now sits on your Venus, and all of a sudden there's this spiritual or exotic dimension that I bring into the picture. Whether or not that lasts depends on the rest of the compatibility. So the nodes add in the flavor, the little bit of wine, they make you a little tipsy. Whether you stay together after, the hangover depends on how good the rest of your compatibility is. If your sun and moon are aligned, if you're Jupiter, all the rest of the protocol.
That's really good that a lot of people ask is like, oh, so if somebody's like, planet is hitting my south node, that means like he might be my past flame, right?
Yes, that is possible. Absolutely. And but there are so many scenarios. So think about this scenario. I bring this up often because it happens to play out. Let's say you're a young woman and you find the love of your life, and you're 20, you get married, you're pregnant, and all of a sudden your partner goes off to war and gets killed. They're gone, right? Their soul is now doing something else. You are still embodied, and you go through the grieving process. And let's say 10 years later, you remarry and you raise the child, and now you're with another partner. You live to the ripe old age of 85, and then you leave this world. And now let's say in some next life, let's say it's this life, you, as having had that karma, meet that young man that you married who died early. Now he feels like you two have unfinished business, but he's way back there. You've lived the full life. You've been with other people. You've raised a daughter alone. So he's expecting one thing from you. Oh my God, you're my soulmate. I can't wait. I want to start this up again. And you're like, well, yeah, you're my soulmate, but I mean, there's more to it. And so now you two expect different things. Do you have karma? Yes. Were you a past flame from another life? Yes. But does it mean you have to be together in this life? Not necessarily. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense because, I have noticed in my groups and a lot of the women's, they're going on dates and they are randomly picking these men. Coincidentally, they all touch the self node. They all touch
Mm,
K2. And
mm,
it's a bunch of them. And I was like, wow, this is like you're having old flames back in
mm-hmm,
whatever decades. And they're not a lot of them touch ever the North Node. Not a lot of them.
mm.
So that's always shocking for me as an experiment.
Yep. And that's the thing. Each one of these is like an ingredient, and it takes a lot of ingredients to make a full relationship. So, yeah, if the South Node touches if your partner's south node touches one of your sensitive planets, Venus, Moon, Sun, it's definitely a kind of remembrance. You're like, oh my gosh, like I know you from somewhere.
That's what they all say. I've been here, I know him, or like
Yeah.
I know her for whatever reason. I have that connection.
And it's great. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel like you're plugged into a bigger picture. However, if you don't have compatibility, then it's just a passing hello. If you do have compatibility, then you can follow up on it. So there's more to it than just having the nodes on your planets. You have to make sure that you have enough to build a relationship.
It's true. And that is important. But also, you also mentioned about the danger meter, which is a divorce indicators.
Mhm.
What have you noticed based on some of your research?
Yeah. So there are a number of divorce indicators, like when one person's Saturn sits on top of the other person's Sun. That's a potential. It's not a gimme. Like it's not like, oh, absolutely, they're gonna, no, not necessarily, but there will be a harsh trial that they have to go through. Some arguments for sure. Another is that's even more powerful is Uranus Sun connections. So if your Sun sits on top of my Uranus, that's a one-way divorce combo. And if my Uranus, say, is opposed to your Sun, now it's a two-way. It goes both ways in the charts. That's a tough one.
Yeah, Uranus is about strange and breaking, wanting to go free in this life. And,
Yeah.
our soul ego has a foundation, I guess, and it has structure in a way and how you run things and how you see things. So when you have that opposed, it kind of like it's an awkward kind of situation. Would you agree?
Yes, and it's if you want to make a relationship like that work, you have to give the partner freedom to go travel, go away, or be with your friends, go be in your with your girlfriends, go be in your man cave, whatever it is, you have to give each other space to make that kind of relationship work, or it will lead to separation. Either you control the separation by, saying, hey, I'm going away for a week, or it will happen
Right.
anyway.
And you were saying Saturn and Sun, that is considered to be, I call it like, I want to describe it a dictator kind of relationship. How
Well,
would you see it? Or how would you describe a feeling or
it
emotion?
depends. It can be productive. It's a discipline. So it's the relationship that a father has with a son. Like, hey, no, you need to sit down and do your homework. So the kid just wants to go play. So it feels harsh, but in the long term, it can actually be productive. So you have to see, is the sun exalted with a debilitated Saturn, or is it the other way? The Saturn is exalted with a debilitated sun. Then it's a different dynamic. Let's say my Saturn is exalted and it's sitting on your debilitated sun. So you're going to feel like I'm like an overwhelming wet blanket. But if your exalted sun sits on my debilitated Saturn, and it's still a Saturn sun connection, but it's going to have a different dynamic. Now, your sun is overpowering my Saturn. So, like, for example, I want you to pick up your socks, but you're like, I'm not doing that. That's why we have the maid. And now I feel like I'm not heard. And I all I want is a clean house. But you get it. You're overwhelming my desire for order and discipline. Saturn is being overwhelmed by your ego. But so when we can't say how it's going to go, we have to look at the individual case. Because both of those examples are Saturn Sun connections, but in each of them, one planet is very much stronger than the other.
It's true. And it depends on which house, where, what it's doing, and other planets being aspect and the degree of it and percentage of it. So if you are ready to either find an astrologer, you can pay for the fee, great. I would totally do that, especially if you're serious in a relationship. Um, like I said, Simon was saying, or you can use the app and you can start off with that. But like I said, every relationship has a karmic, regardless if it's your parents, your friends, or anybody could be your soulmate. That's what Simon was saying. But also, I'm really curious about the remedy measure for love. How did you figure that one out, Simon?
Well, there are a lot of remedial measures. So for the person, for example, who has Mars Ketu together, they need to get in touch with their body with their own physicality. So that could mean doing Kegel exercises. That could mean doing yoga, and that's a remedy for them, right? So there's no one universal remedy like, oh, you hang this picture in your house and love will come to you. Excuse me, on which planet is weak or strong. But typically, the planet we want to assuage is Venus, right? Because Venus is the god or goddess of love, depending on, all the planets are masculine in the Vedic tradition. So Venus is a dude, actually, but, Shukracharya. But we perceive Venus as this feminine energy. So there are ways to be nice to Venus. So what does Venus represent? It represents the good things in life, like chocolate, ice cream, which is why when we feel lonely, we want to eat those things. We want to put more Venus in us because we feel we don't have enough, right? Though that's the sweetness that a partner would give us. In terms of animals, Venus represents horses, ducks, and kind of sometimes cats, you could say, luxurious animals, peacocks, although peacocks, they have co-rulerships as well. So feeding those animals, so if you have access to a ranch that's not yours, bring some carrots to a horse, especially on a Friday, and do it every Friday for a number of weeks and see what happens. Feed ducks. The craziest thing, I had a client, and she used to feed animals on a regular basis in college. Somehow it came out in her reading. And then I just randomly, I interrupted and I said, you had your most fulfilling relationship in college, didn't you? She was in her 40s or 50s. She says, yeah, I did. I haven't had one like that since then. And she didn't make the connection. And so I said, it's because you fed those animals. She was like, what? No. It was just the guy I was with was very special. But then, we went our separate ways. And I'm like, no, it's because you fed those animals, woman. She didn't believe it. But the point is, when you feed that energy, it will give you back its energy. So feed Venus in some way, either by feeding horses, ducks, or helping, with the adoption of cats, or however Venus is represented in your life. Just bring more of it into your life.
Right. And water is one of them too.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So getting in a pool, like if you're kind of want to purify your
Yes.
body, I think the pool is, or the ocean or the pool, anything close to water or listening to water would be helpful. Isn't that right, Simon?
Yes. Absolutely. Beautiful locations, beautiful. You could say dolphins are also Venus, being around those kinds of animals.
And it's interesting you were saying Friday is Venus, and it's a Venus day. So that's, if somebody didn't know that, Fridays represent Venus days. So
another thing you can do is help other couples, help others get married or find love. So volunteer at a wedding, or give gifts to to young couples who are getting married, help start a marriage registry for them. That's another way that's another ritual you can do.
that's a good way to respect Venus. If you're a woman or a man, doesn't matter, but you're in a third party situation, but you really want to find love, but you have to respect Venus. And that's what Simon is saying. Like, you have to nurture these nature, water, and love, the ceremony of a marriage. That is really important to get love in life. That's a really good remedy for yourself if you're either wanting to be serious in love and you feel stuck, or you don't feel inspired by love. That Simon was saying.
One of the greatest remedies is give what you most want to get. So if you're hungry, feed others. Like if you don't have money, help others get money and have shelter and clothing and so forth. And it'll be hard. It feels hard. Like, oh, part of your ego will be like, why are these people having all the things and I have nothing? But get over that, because the feeling of helping is actually a great feeling. Sooner or later, depending on how thick your karma is, how thick your personal baggage is, that will get burnt up and you'll find the prosperity, you'll find the love, you'll find the things that you're helping other people get. So that's a basic saying. If you want something, help others achieve it.
No, it's true. And that's a good way to segue into the masculine and feminine energy. What have you noticed about that? Like, does a man has to be like masculine, always giving and protecting and cherishing? Or is it more feminine and has to be passive and patient, and that's how you find love? What is it like, Simon? Tell me.
It depends. It depends on the level of the level you're experiencing of life. If you're in war, and which is an emergency situation of basic survival, then yeah, fundamentally we revert to the roles of man as protector, and woman as nurturer. So honey, take care of the kids. I'm going to go out and see if I can, kill the enemy or find a path away from the bombs, and so forth. Those tend to be the natural roles in emergency situations. In a society where we're allowed to actuate ourselves, the woman may be the warrior in the family and the man may be the laborer. So the man, if you're a laborer dharma type, you prefer to be the nurturer, to be the loyal person there holding everything together while the warrior is out, slaying dragons, whether it's in the corporate world, the business world, whatever, right? So in a society where we can fully express ourselves, each dharma type, so dharma types are warrior, educator, laborer, merchant, and outsider. Each one of those has a specific gift to give to the world. Like, for example, you're wearing a ring on the right side of the nose. Now, in some traditions, in cultures, that's traditional. In others, it's the opposite. But from the yoga perspective, the right nadi is the nadi of self-actualization. It's the masculine nadi. So when a woman wears a nose ring there, it says, I'm ready to actualize myself in the world. I'm going to go out and get it. I don't care what anyone says. I'm my own boss, and this is how it is. Right? Does that make sense? And it reflects your personality. So I would never say, no, you should wear it on the left side. No. But if your goal, if and when your goal becomes to become soft, to have kids, to be more in the background, taking care of family, the simple pleasures in life, then the ring on the left opens that nadi and it'll make you more emotional, more nurturing, and so forth. The right nadi makes you more goal-oriented, focused, strong, expressive, right? So each has a purpose. So you have to find a partner who is okay with you being who you are. That's what compatibility is. If you have a strong Mars, they have to be okay with that Mars. Whether they're a man or a woman, same sex, opposite sex relationships, doesn't matter. If you're well matched, your partner will support you in what you're doing. That's what I mean by compatibility. So gender roles are important, especially in emergency situations. But I think once we get beyond the survival aspect of it, we are such complex beings that the most important thing is we have to be compatible. Then when I want to go out and get a job, you support that. When I want to stay home, you support that, and vice versa.
Right. And that's totally correct when it comes to the role, especially I notice in the yonis. The yoni represent our animal, and that's our instinct. It doesn't have to mean like behind the bedroom doors. It's our instinct. And that's what we could play on. Because I know that in your channel, you were talking about, if you have these yonis, you can go exercise. You can do these things for remedies, right? Mm-hmm. And that would be very beneficial for yourself if you either don't have a partner or you're getting angry, and how to channel it. These yoni in case of emergency, when you If you're a mouse, you're gonna hide quite a bit when you see or you're scared. If you're a tiger, you are a chitra, then you're gonna come out and pounce, right? You're not gonna be hiding. It's a totally different animal. So when you notice these things in couples, and I have noticed in couples fighting, their yoni comes out.
Mhm.
Their yoni comes out.
Yeah, and that's why the yoni compatibility. Yoni means species. It also means reproductive organ. So yeah, what's your totem animal, you can say. So if you are a horse, then the type of exercise you may be attracted to would be running. Like you like sports where you run, soccer or long distance steeplechase or whatever. But if your yoni is tiger or lion, then short distance, brief spurts of energy, like sprinting or I don't know, throwing a javelin or something that's very intense but very brief. So you'll have a different type of exercise. But yes, so and then in relationships, a horse will express themselves differently than a tiger. That's why having the same yoni is considered very auspicious, particularly for physical relationships. So if I'm a cat and I'm with another cat, that's considered very good. Versus I'm a cat and you're a rat or a mouse. Now it's like, what's fun for me isn't fun for you. And
What about the mongoose?
Mongoose is a badass. They can be with anyone because, I mean, think about what the animal looks like. It kind of looks like a rat, but it's not. It's longer. It, unlike most animals, it's not afraid of snakes and bigger creatures. So it's a very unique animal. So mongoose can be with anyone, but with another mongoose.
That's
Also.
true. And if you're a mongoose, lucky you, you can date all the animals in the kingdom practically.
Practically speaking, yes. But the flip side of that is you may never fully connect. Like you're always independent. You're always a little bit unique,
Yeah.
Whereas a cat with a cat, they just boom, they fit and they connect 100%.
No, and they get each other's animals instinct. Do you have a mantra for somebody who's looking for love and if they want to try that out 108 times?
Again, mantras are very specific to you. But what you can do is do the mantra of a planet that is associated with your seventh house. So the ruler of your seventh house, or a planet in your seventh house that may be obstructing relationships. Say you have, Mars in your seventh or Saturn, you may want to do a mantra to those planets to say, hey, Mars, chill, baby. I love you, but you're making things hard for me. Please be nice, or Shani, oh Shani, please be nice to me. Mantra isn't always for the thing you want. It's sometimes against the thing you don't want. So Shani is giving you obstacles and you're saying, okay, I'm going to do a mantra for Shani to keep obstacles at bay so I can find love.
No, thank you so much, Simon, for giving that information. I know that we were talking offline a little bit about possibly, those who are single and wanting to find love, right?
Mm-hmm.
And is serious about finding love. Simon and I will be able to help you. Before you purchase the app or how to use it, I want you to go and watch it on Simon's channel. He will tell you how to use it step by step. And it's not very intuitive. That's what he was stating, but where to find the final results. Okay. So you're not looking into each tab. And he made a video of that for like 45 minutes. You can go and watch that. You can speed watch it if you like. That's what I do.
Definitely speed watch it. Yeah, I tend to speak slowly, so you could turn me up to 1.5 and it makes perfect sense. And that was the one I made, I think, end of October. So if you're looking on my channel, it's like end of October or the beginning of November.
Yeah, so I will definitely link it in the description as well and end of this video.
I have a compatibility course coming up. So if you're an astrologer and you're interested in learning the techniques, it's on decodingvedicwisdom.com. If you're not, then definitely just check out the app. Check out the Cosmic Insights app, and it has pretty much everything you need.
And if you're not into astrology, and that's okay, But astrology has a lot of philosophy. And that's why I chose Vedic astrology, because there's so much philosophy that you learn about. So that's why Simon has such a deep wisdom knowledge when it comes to divine masculine and divine feminine. He has that information because it's all from philosophy. So it's not only talking about the star, but understanding what your emotion means, right? What does a moon mean? Moon is all about how not only how we feel, but it's all about the knowing. So, and if you love learning about something like that, definitely go and check out some of his courses. And I have enrolled in a few of his courses, and I'm in a few of his other classes too. So I got really inspired in learning about Vedic astrology and Sanskrit and everything else. So everything is down below. And I want to thank you so much, Simon, for
Thank you.
being here and
Yep.
answering my question. You definitely have inspired those who are single and have probably given up and just probably scooping away with their ice cream, and they're like, love is hopeless, but there isn't. And definitely check out the app.
Absolutely. There is hope, guys. There is hope. And you can do something about it. You don't have to just hang in there. There is hope. And fortunately, astrology lights the way. And hope it can light the way for you as well.